Hey there, this is Reggie of My Hope in Marriage. You can visit me online at myhopeinmarriage.com. Now, My Hope in Marriage is designed as a platform for me to share what I've learned in almost 35 years of marriage. You know, when I first was married, like I've said many times, I didn't know how to be married, and I recognized that as just the way I think, and I sought to learn more about it. And that has helped me. And then recently, it hasn't been that long ago. Well, it has been a little bit, but formalize My Hope in Marriage happened like around 2018. But I decided to share what I've learned online with you guys for people to gain some insight, and especially from the man's perspective, from the husband's perspective, because I am a guy. Now, a lot of things go both ways. In concept, they go both ways. But men and women are different. We think different. We tend to see the world differently. So we have to consider that dynamic when we talk about, certain topics dealing with marriage. All right. So now, what I want to talk about today in this video is respect. Now, most of you know that respect is very important to a husband, to a man. You cannot have a healthy marriage, a healthy relationship without respect. All right, they go hand in hand. Also, it's not just a man thing, it's a human thing. No human being wants to be disrespected. So, but in the context of the marriage, respect is very important to a man from his wife, especially in his own house. All right, but I would dare say that respect is also very important to the woman, all right, from her husband in her own house. All right, so, but the way the respect plays out for both is subtly different. Maybe not subtly, it's different. So, what I want to talk about is respect, especially from the man's perspective, because I'm a guy. Not that it's more important for the guys, ladies. It's just that I'm a guy and I can speak freely from a man's perspective. All right, but realize, everybody, that it goes both ways. Women want to be respected too. All right, so I am going to incorporate that, but just understand that I'm speaking from a man's perspective. All right, the first thing I want to do is define what respect is. Because, for example, a lady, an enlightened wife who want to work at building a successful, happy, fulfilled marriage may discover that respect is very important to her husband. So one of the first things she might ask herself is, what does respect look like to a man? Or what is respect? What is respect and what does it look like to my husband, she might ask. All right, so let's talk about first what respect is, and two, I'm going to talk about two aspects of respect. The first aspect is the feeling of deep, you admire someone, you have feelings of deep admiration for someone, which is elicited because of their abilities, their qualities, or achievements. You respect someone because he might be a great mechanic, so you respect him. He might be a great minister, so you respect him for that. Okay, so for example, you might say the boss respects John as a great engineer. All right, he's a really great engineer, and he respects him for that, because he knows what he's doing, he can trust him, so forth and so on. Another aspect of respect is due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, and traditions of others. You respect someone's, religion. You respect someone's nationality, tradition. You respect someone's way of thinking that you've learned. You respect your parents. For example, you may say, she lacks respect for her husband when she does that out in public, whatever it is. All right, she's showing a lack of respect for her husband. Or she's not demonstrating any admiration. She's more so demonstrating disdain, disrespect. All right. So, ladies, that's basically what respect is. And of course, you can research respect in more detail. All right. But in the context of marriage, we're saying that you respect your husband or you respect your wife based on their beliefs, based on their feelings, based on, yes, you respect people for their feelings, because feelings are important. I don't like to govern myself by emotions because it's fickle, but still, you feel the way you feel, and people tend to respond based on emotions. A great sales philosophy is that people buy from emotion, not, analytically, all right, or even pragmatically. Okay, so that's respect right there. That's respect in a nutshell. So men want to be respected by their wives. Men want to be respected by their wives. They want their wives to admire them for their abilities, for the way they think. They want to respect their input. They want their wives to we want our wives to respect us for our life's knowledge, knowledge of life, knowledge of things, and so forth and so on. We want that respect, and that respect for a guy carries with it the concept, if you will, of love. In other words, if my wife doesn't respect me, then in my mind she can't love me. And ladies, that's what's going on in a guy's head. If you don't respect him, you're demonstrating a lack of love. All right. Now, I don't know if it's the same way for the ladies. If the husband disrespects her, I would dare say that she would say, well, how could he love me if he doesn't respect me? Okay. So a husband wants their wives. We want our wives to respect us, to admire us, to look up to us, to, just to take seriously what we bring to the table in the relationship. Now, that's all great, but how is this respect manifested in the relationship? How is it manifested in the relationship? Well, I'll tell you. A powerful indication of respect is listening attentively. If your husband is talking to you, or if you're talking to your wife, but I'm just going to avoid going back and forth like that, I'm talking from a man's perspective, but please understand it goes both ways. All right? But anyway, if you are talking to your husband, or your husband is talking to you, he's telling you something, he's explaining something, and let me get my phone here, and you're like this. You're like, yeah, oh yeah, honey, yeah. You're not respecting him. Likewise, guys, I got to say this. I know I'm just gonna talk from the male's perspective, but this is important too. If your wife is talking to you and you're watching the game and you're like, yeah, honey, then you're not respecting her. But also, wives, if you know that game is very important to him, you would wait until the game is over or there's an opportune time. That's also a sign of respect. You respect his love for watching football or whatever the case may be. Now, if it's something that's really, really bugging you, then you might tell him. And then, guys, you have to have priority. What's more important, this game or my wife? All right? You see how respect can intertwine in the relationship like that? It deals with priorities. It deals with how you feel about your spouse as far as her feelings or his feelings, his his disposition on certain things, his philosophy, his whatever. Okay, so when you listen to your husband when he's talking to you, and likewise, wives, husbands listen to the wives. When you're listening attentively, you're showing right then and there. You're showing that you're respecting. You're showing a sign of respect. I respect what he's saying. I take heed. What he's saying to me is significant. It's worth my attention. All right? It's worth listening and taking in what he's saying. Now, if you don't do that, if you're not listening him, if you're not giving him your undivided attention, then like anybody else, he's going to see that. She's not paying attention to me. She doesn't care what I have to say, and she doesn't respect me. She doesn't love me. All this is going on in his head as a background process, okay? And that in itself will begin to seed things or germinate things in him to conceive something in him called resentment. And when that takes place, ladies, it's like a poison killing the relationship, all right? Because one of the signs of disrespect that a husband will manifest when he feels as though his wife disrespects him, he's going to start to back off. Why go to her when she doesn't respect me? Why tell her anything when she doesn't respect me? Why share my thoughts when she doesn't listen? I could tell her something and she just doesn't listen. It could be something simple. All right? So give your husband or give your spouse your undivided attention when they are talking to you. Now, if your spouse typically does give you their undivided attention, but this time they're not, that could be an indication that they really don't care what you're talking about, or they don't want to hear what you're talking about. All right? So you gotta kind of measure that. Getting to know each other. Well, he's not really responding, so he probably doesn't care about what I'm talking about, or he is somewhere else. Maybe something's bothering him or whatever. All right. So that's just some things, some practical things in a relationship as you get to know each other. All right. Now, when your spouse talks to you, get off your phone. Turn that TV down or turn it off. Face him. Look at him. Or just, not that you got to stare him in the eye. Yeah, what'd you say, honey? But you can, maybe, just, really listen. And if something, doesn't, a good way to know that somebody's listening to you is say, whoa, what do you mean by such and such and such? Right? That means they're listening and you said something that they don't quite get. So, wait, I thought you said he had a black. That means you're listening. So turn off get out of the distractions when your husband is talking to you. Listen to him attentively. And likewise, husband, get out of the distractions when your wife is talking to you. Communication in a marriage or any relationship is critical. It's very important. And you shouldn't take it lightly. It's very serious. And you should work diligently to preserve it, to grow it in your marriage. Good communications, that is. All right, now, a powerful implementation of respect, a way that you know that you are being respected, a way that a husband knows that his wife respects him. She's not just putting up a front. She's not just pretending to listen. She's not pretending that what he says to her is, worthy of anything. And that is a way that he knows that she is respecting him for what he says or does or whatnot, is when he observes her implementing whatever it is in her regular life in the house or what have you. When he sees that, let me give you an example. On my job, they have I forget what it's called, but they have a position, they have a person who deals with company, I forget what you call, like recycling and stuff like that. They're really big on doing the right thing for the environment. And we had a meeting, we had a big company meeting where they tell you stuff about the company and so forth, so on. But anyway, she said that I learned that pizza boxes, even though they're cardboard, are not considered recyclable if they have a lot of grease, if they have grease in it. I'm figuring, they must have some kind of problem. You just put the pizza box, cardboard, in the recycle. I said, no. So I told my wife that. We had pizza one night, and I said, well, no, these aren't recyclable. And she didn't take me seriously. And then later on, I don't know, a few weeks or so later, she said, did you know that pizza boxes with grease are not recyclable? And I said, well, didn't I tell you that? See, that was a sign of, in that case, disrespect. She didn't take seriously what I told her. The pizza box with grease is not recyclable. So, but if she had taken a pizza box, let's say we had pizza afterwards, even though we didn't, let's say we had pizza afterwards and I saw her take the box and crunch it up and put it in the trash, then I would have said, oh, she took me seriously. She respected what I said, All right. Now, that doesn't mean, ladies, that you have to do whatever your husband says. You just got to believe him. If he said something, you're taking him seriously. But if you don't get something, if you don't believe something, or if you don't agree, you say it. You respect him enough to say it. Another form of disrespect is when you don't say anything and you complain behind his back. When you don't step up and make your voice known, respectfully. All right. Considerably. All right. With consideration. All right. So when you take action or your actions are adjusted, changed because of what he said, then you're showing respect for your husband. But I can't tell you how important it is just to listen and engage in the conversation when he's talking to you. Engage. Because that is not only a sign of respect, that's a sign of togetherness. You're really getting together and so forth. So because as he's telling you things, his own thoughts, his own dispositions, his own views of things are coming out. They're mixed into all that. And you get enough of that, you can put a good picture together of things that he likes, the way he thinks about certain things, and so forth and so on. Okay? Now, so now here's some examples of respects. Some examples of respect when you respect your husband is the fact that you take action on what he says. You take action. You take seriously what he says. You incorporate what your husband says, for example, about disciplining the child, right? Especially if it's a son. You take seriously what he says about disciplining the son or disciplining the children. You don't just, okay, honey, and then go off and do your complete opposite. That's a desperate sign of disrespect, and it's going to catch up with you. All right, he's going to learn that, and that's going to cause tension in the marriage, and it's going to be like two magnets at the same poles repelling each other. So that's a sign of a disrespect. You disrespect your husband when you talk about him behind his back. You disrespect your husband when you undermine what he says about, for example, disciplining the kids or how the house looks. When he says, I don't like stuff piled up here, and you just continue to pile things up, then you're disrespecting him. Because him seeing things piled up or things messy or whatever, he's not necessarily telling you everything that means, but it has a meaning to him. It might be causing stress in like a feng shui type of way. he does. I don't want to see these things piled up, but you keep piling up. You're disrespecting him. All right, and like I said, likewise, guys, you got to respect your wives' wishes as well. You know, she might want things a certain way, then respect that. What harm does it do? And if you really have strong feelings about an opposing, position about something, I want the painting on this wall. No, I want it on that wall. And you just say, well, I'm putting it here. Well, you come to an agreement, like good adults. All right, you come to an agreement. Maybe you have to compromise or whatever. But the main thing that I wanted to bring out is that respect is very important to your husband. Ladies, respect your husband. Of course, husbands, respect your wives. Wives, respect your husband. Take respect seriously. Learn what you can about respect. Learn, his ways. Remember, you're admiring him for his abilities. What are his abilities? What is he good at? What does he bring to the table in the relationship? You regard his feelings, his wishes, and his traditions and thoughts about things. Well, what are they? That's why you got to communicate and get to know each other. What are his thoughts? What are his feelings about such and such and such? And you regard that. You put that in. You regard that. You take that seriously. You incorporate that in your dealings with him, and that's a sign of respect. All right. You can't have a happy marriage if you're constantly disrespecting each other. And to a guy, that's very, very critical. You need to respect your husband. Husbands, you need to respect you need to respect each other. Heck, you need to respect people. All right. But most of all, you have to respect those in your own house. Wives, respect your husband. Husbands, respect your wives. All right. Well, I'm Reggie, or William Cunningham, of My Hope in Marriage. Again, online, you can visit us at www.myhopeinmarriage.com. All right. Until the next time, I wish you a happy and fulfilled marriage. Be blessed.